Look at all those big squash blooms back there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 back there. Got more up here. The butternut blooms are huge. They're about the size of my fist. They'll open up just like any other squash. They open up more in the morning. Very pretty. But anyway, I got out here last night. I was out till almost midnight working on this system. I don't know how the broccoli kept falling over. I'm gonna have to figure out a way to prop it back up, I guess. That one kept going down. I think I brushed by it one too many times, or I might have knocked it over with something, I don't know. Everything else looks good. I got the strawberries back in the tube. I got the tube system running. Made some adjustments to the level on it because the water level on this backside was getting too high. So I brought the other ends down. There's one poor little chard. It was all falling over like this back there. So I'm hoping by bringing it around here and getting the system cleaned out that once it gets over here and starts getting some sun, it'll start standing up. You can see the new growth coming up here is going more upwards, so we'll see what happens with it. The Butter Crunch was doing the same thing. It was over on the end over here, but it was just like that. It kept falling over, but on the end, it was in there in such a way that it was actually standing a lot more upright. I don't know how it was in over there, but it'll turn back up now that I've got it back in. All the strawberries are back over here. I pinched off some of the early strawberries. I probably need to pinch off some more. Yeah, that one's not going to do much, but it might ripen enough to give to Tilapia. They like strawberries. So, probably, if you pinch off the first few, they get better. You get better ones later on. So these two need to go. Okay. But anyway, so I got the tube system all cleaned out. And you can look down in there, it's really, really clean right now. Almost nothing in there. Now, you do get algae inside these things because of the white PVC doesn't really block any of the sunlight. So, and I did filter off 2 gallons from the radial flow. It does settle back down to a degree once you get it jugged up. Most of the effluent was in the bottom. I just knocked that one over. Look at this one. That's darker towards the bottom. I just shake it up and pour it around various places where I have things planted. So I got that done as well. So most of the stuff's out of the radial flow right now. And I got the 100 that the guy is supposed to buy today pulled out of this tank here. I had it down to where there were just a few inches of water in it. I counted out his 100. Well, I counted out 54 into one bucket, 54 into another bucket, so he's got 108. I normally try to give, you know, somewhere between 5 and 10% extra just in case of mishaps, or a couple die during transport, or don't acclimate quickly enough, or if there's a few small ones in the batch. So he'll get 108. I counted out the remainder and I had 58. Of course, a couple of them were pretty puny, so I'm going to consider it a batch of 50 and relist it on Craigslist and try to sell that 50. But I didn't want to have to drain this tank all the way back down for another 50. So what I did was divided the fish that were in the 2 tanks, which is what I wanted to do to begin with. So I emptied this tank completely, of fish anyway. There was just a few inches of water in it. I set the pump up to pump the water from the number 1 tank to the number 2 tank. And then I got down in with a few buckets and I separated the larger fish, you know, the 5-inch to 3-inch, and to keep in this tank, and anything smaller than 3 inches went to this tank. So I've got 145 in the number 2 tank, 110 in the number 1 tank. So, and it's a lot less crowded down in there than what it was. As you can imagine, I took 130 out of this tank because I had about 15 larger ones in this tank, mixed in with those fingerlings that I decided I wanted were large enough for me to keep. So I kept those, moved 130 others over into here. Now that the weather's starting to warm up, the tanks will warm up, and I can start feeding them a couple times a day, and they'll start putting on weight rapidly. Some of the ones in here should really do well. They're bigger than the size that my original breeding set was when I first got them, and a couple of them got up to over a foot. So in just like a 6-month period. So by next fall, these guys will be up to eating size. So that's it. I took the one white kohlrabi that was in the tube system and moved it to the 4, or moved it over here. I put it in this bed with the cabbages just to see what it'll do. So that's done. I need to go ahead and get some pepper plants going to put in this bed. I need to finish weeding out here. I might put some banana peppers down in the ground. Then the outside bed that had the let's see, collard greens in it. This bed out here, I'm going to clean up, put the plastic away since we won't need it anymore. Take the hoops off that were supporting that plastic. It looks like she knocked one off when she was harvesting the collards, but that's fine. She could have knocked them all off. And the collards are starting to come back in here too, because she just cut the stems and left them. You can see that right there is collard greens. So I might leave some of the collards, just let them come back. But what I wanted to do, or I might transplant them, because I wanted to put corn in here and some peas. Let the peas climb on the rabbit fence or the corn stalks, and plant some corn in here. And use the rabbit fence, of course, would keep the rabbit out. So that's the plan for this bed. How'd those get out here? The wood's been out here, and I'm using the ice chest, but I need to work on this yard. Now this bed had what was supposed to be bright light Swiss chard and spinach in it. It never really did much of anything. It did survive through the winter. The little spinach are still down there. So I might pull them up and see if I can do anything with them in the aquaponics. I'll probably transplant some of the Swiss chard. Not real sure what I'm going to plant in here. Might plant, well, it's too close to the other peppers in there. I was thinking about some cubanelles. I might plant some cantaloupes or something in here. It's a small bed, but I don't need much by way of cantaloupes. And then the front bed, when I pull the stuff that's up there, I'll figure out, I don't know, what I want to put up there. But that's it for the aquaponics.